Hey girlies! So about a week ago, I posted a poll on my Instagram and I asked everyone whether they thought I should read Happy Place by Emily Henry or Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. The people wanted Happy Place by Emily Henry. I was not arguing because that was gonna be my choice, but now I've already read it and posted a reading vlog. You should totally go watch it because it was so much fun to make. But naturally that means the next reading vlog I have to do is Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. So that is what this video is going to be, and I am losing my mind. This is one of my most anticipated reads of 2023, and it still blows my mind that I've gotten these opportunities. So we are going to read it together. Every Summer After was Carly Fortune's debut novel, and I absolutely ate it up. It was a 5-star read for me, so I've got high expectations for Meet Me at the Lake. I'm not gonna lie, that cover did something to me. I didn't even read the synopsis of Meet Me at the Lake. When you know, you know. I've got a good feeling about this book. I'm a little nervous. I'm gonna be completely straight up with you, but we're gonna read it together. So I will say it's a little later than I anticipated starting this, so it'll probably be a 2-day affair, but I'm sensing it'll be worth it, so. So I'm gonna be completely transparent. I didn't read the blurb, and so I thought Jamie was her brother and not her ex. I was expecting her to pass away from old age, maybe some health complications, but definitely not that. Okay, so I'm only 5% of the way in. I think I'm still in the first chapter, but you can usually tell with romance books who the protagonist is going to end up with, or the main characters that are going to be involved in their story. So my first impression after not reading the blurb was that Fern and Jamie were going to end up together. But now we've been introduced to this mysterious man at the desk, and the way he's introduced is making it seem as though the story is going to be about him and Fern. I thought about looking up the blurb on Goodreads, but I think I want to keep it a surprise because I did that with Happy Place and I absolutely loved it. I've actually been loving going into stories blind, so we're gonna wait it out. We're gonna see what happens. It's also almost time for ambient lighting and I'm so excited. My Kindle is about to die though. I think it's at 20%, maybe a little more. So if she could just hold out a little longer, I would greatly appreciate it. How did he get that scar? Was it you? Fern sounds a little guilty. It's alternating timelines. I got so lucky. I think this is the 4th book in a row I've read with alternating timelines. That never happens. I need to play the lottery or something. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I know Every Summer After was told in alternating timelines, but I think the time span was 10 years. If that's true, Meet Me at the Lake is also told with a 10-year gap. I'm loving this. I'm taking this as my sign to apply to a small local coffee shop. Say less. I think this friendship is gonna go south very soon. Jamie's clearly tied to more than just Fern. Actually, maybe I just took that out of context. I clearly can't read. Where are my comprehension skills? I tend to over-exaggerate literally everything. The timelines aren't coinciding. During this blast to the past 10 years ago, Jamie and Fern were dating, so where does the mystery man come in? Interesting. Jamie was a snowboarding instructor. That's kind of hot. Okay, sports and romance. Okay, anytime they mention a song, I've got this need to look it up. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. It isn't a song, it's an artist. I will not be participating in that then. Was our mystery man an artist in his last life? Now that's hot. Forget about the sports romance. Say less. Oh my god. She better end up with him. Is this about to be a love triangle? I didn't even take that into consideration. That's terrible. Okay, I'm a little confused. She only knew our mystery man for a total of 24 hours. How much history can be in 24 hours? I'm very interested to see the direction this is going in because it seems very angsty for such a short amount of time. I want to know. Not her tripping. The secondhand embarrassment. I'm so sorry. Girl, I can't live vicariously through you if you're gonna act like a fool. Oh my god. Did all of those people see her trip? I shouldn't be as concerned as I am, but I think she's more damaged emotionally than physically. Not her mom being sneaky. Did her mom know? She had to have known. Or maybe not. They did only know each other for 24 hours. Why is she so upset? She barely knows this man. At least I'm assuming. Okay, so I'm currently at the 25% mark. My initial thoughts are that it isn't exactly the kind of story that stood out to me to begin with. It seemed, I don't want to say stereotypical or cliche, it just didn't seem like there was anywhere it could go. I will say a little bit further into the book, there's definitely potential. Once again, this is a book that revolves around grief. Although unlike in Every Summer After, it revolves around the main character's grief rather than someone she's associated with. I'm not quite sure where Jamie is going to come into play, but it seems as though all of the chemistry is going to exist between Will and Fern. Perhaps the synopsis told you that, but overall it's very digestible. There isn't as much depth to our side characters as much just yet, but there's a lot to learn about Fern. I'm not settled on a rating just yet. I don't even think I could predict a rating other than vaguely telling you between a 4 and a 5 star. Complete transparency, I'm just not sure it's going to be a 5-star. It just seems a little too mundane for that. You all know I'm an avid 4.9 star rater. It takes a lot for a book to be 5 stars. I did go into this with high expectations because I just read Happy Place by Emily Henry. I cannot believe I get to say that, but that was a 5-star read. I will link the video down below because I did film a reading vlog for it. It is spoiler free so you can watch it now, but I totally respect if you want to wait until the release date. But overall, I think it's a little too soon to come to any conclusions with this book just yet. So I'm gonna keep reading. So I'm at the 26% mark and everything is going south. At least I think it's going south. I just don't understand why she's so upset. I think that's gonna make the climax even more interesting and angsty because I genuinely cannot grasp the chokehold that man had on her. Girl, 24 hours. Let's put it into perspective. Look, I support women's rights and wrongs, but this is a man we're talking about. Are you gonna let yourself get that worked up over a man? Okay, I am at the 50% mark. We just learned a lot about Will and his past, why he made the choices that he made. It wasn't quite what I was expecting. At this point, I would say it's definitely a comfort read. It gives off a lot of those same small town cozy vibes that Every Summer After did, I'm just still not quite sure where I stand. Every Summer After is just such a special book to me, and I rated it 5 stars, but I'm definitely enjoying Meet Me at the Lake. I will say, I'm still a little worried between the flashbacks we're getting from 10 years ago and everything being exposed in the present moment. I'm nervous the climax is going to be anticlimactic. I just think Will and Fern's past relationship, or lack thereof, is being made out to be more than it is or was, but we'll see. I'm gonna keep reading. It is currently 11:15. My Kindle says I have 2 hours and 18 minutes left, so that would put me at around 1:30 in the morning. I think I might be able to power through, but my camera is about to die, so I will update you probably around the 75% mark, unless something exceptionally juicy occurs before then. Good lord. I don't remember Every Summer After being this steamy. Oh my god! 56%. That's all I'm gonna tell you. But also, there was a moment there I thought he was gonna put her foot in his mouth. I'm gonna be completely straight up. Okay, and I'm manifesting that whenever you read it, you also suffer with that exact thought. Because I was gonna need you to stop. I would have DNF'd the book. I don't care how far I am. I draw the line at foot fetishes, so relieved. My camera's still about to die. What am I doing? I will say, I'm trying to understand the size dynamic. She says kneeling, he comes up to her chest, and I just don't understand scientifically how that works. Oh my god. I never considered the possibility of that. Oh my god. Holy Jesus Christ. She just unlocked a new facet of my brain. I need a moment to process that. That is so hot. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't sure where I stood with Will, but I'm a Will stan now. So, I am also proud to announce that this isn't a love triangle. I don't think that's a spoiler, but if it was a love triangle, I definitely don't think I would have recommended it. I also thought the cheating trope was involved. It isn't. I also don't think that's a spoiler, but once again, it would have averted me away from recommending the book, because I personally don't enjoy that, so I don't think I'll ever recommend a book with the cheating trope. Love triangle, I can get behind sometimes. Those years apart did something to him. He's done so bad. Groveling as he should. Well, I wouldn't exactly say groveling, but where it matters, he's groveling. Just keeping it real. The man is starved. Okay, it's currently 12:45. I am 78% of the way done. I've got about an hour left in the book. I don't know where anything is going. The entirety of this book has just been unpredictable. Not in a bad way necessarily. I'm clearly intrigued enough to keep reading. I think I'm gonna be able to stick it through. My prediction about who Peter was to Fern was incorrect. But it's okay because Fern and I were on the same page, so I'm not the only one that was incorrect. I'm not upset by any means, but I will say I can't stop picturing Peter as the bodyguard from Princess Diaries, the one that's in love with Julie Andrews. I'm not sure why. Actually, I do know why, but I can't tell you because this is a spoiler-free vlog. but physically speaking, I still see him that way, and he isn't described that way. I think it's just personality-wise. I will say, with there being about 20% of the book left, we've learned almost the entirety of Will and Fern's past. All that's left is the day they agreed to meet upon a year later. I don't want to say they're about to lose touch with each other. They're both now in a situation where they are forced to make a decision. I'm oblivious. I've got zero prediction. They could decide to stay in touch or decide not to. Either way, I don't think it's going to be enough to take over that 20% of the book. So I don't believe we've gotten to the climax of the book yet. I hope this doesn't come across in a way that I don't like this book, because I truly am enjoying it. It's such a comfort read, and I think sometimes you need to read a book that isn't angsty and plot driven. It seems very character driven. We've gotten a lot more depth to Will's character than I expected there to be. It didn't seem promising in the beginning. I thought it was going to be a very surface level interaction. Obviously, since Fern is the narrator of the story, we're almost on the same page as her the entire story. Jamie, there isn't too much of a backstory on him, but he's a lovely side character, I will say that. So I will give you an update maybe when I get to the 85–90% mark, probably once we get to the climax. I truly am manifesting it hasn't already happened, because that would be embarrassing. But they're about to put on the annual dance that the resort does, so I do think something is going to go down. I'm not sure what. Okay. Hi friends, there's a lot to unpack. So I got to the 90% mark before I went to bed last night. I was gonna give you an update because we got to the climax. I lost it, okay? I'm gonna be completely transparent. I was so enraged. I don't remember the last time I was that upset about the direction a story was going. I genuinely sat there and was contemplating not reading through the last 10% of the book. I'm still not quite sure where I stand. So essentially, Will made a decision that paralleled the one he made 10 years ago. I can acknowledge that there are a lot of decisions the author made that I don't agree with, yet stylistically, they make sense. So this decision that Will made, I didn't agree with, but it made sense for his character. The Will we know now is very different from the Will we knew back then. So this decision aligned with current Will's motivations and lifestyle, yet in my opinion it stunted his character development. It made it all seem as though it was for nothing. There was an event that occurred in Will's past life that made him a closed off person. Though the more time he spent with Fern, you would think he would start to open up more. But that wasn't true in this scenario. I'm trying to make sense of it all, I truly am. It just didn't seem as though Fern was worth it to him. I understand that his family is very important to him, but she should be too. If she truly is someone you love, you should be able to make sacrifices for her. I'm not feeling very coherent at this point in time. I thought I was, but I've yet to write my complete review for Goodreads. So the incident that led to the climax was unexpected for me, though I do think it was foreshadowed. It is so difficult trying to explain this without giving a spoiler. But long story short, we get to the climax. Then we are introduced to a character that leads us to our resolution. I suppose this could be a potential spoiler if you don't want to know any other parties involved in the story. But during the climax, we're introduced to Will's sister. I don't like her. She just seemed very immature. I understand being protective over your brother. I am very protective over my siblings and who they date. I'm very vocal about the choices they make and whether or not I agree with them. But there is such a point as taking it too far. I think Annabelle took it too far. She wanted to shift that blame from Will to Fern when it takes two to tango, okay? I don't think anyone was taking into consideration that Fern is going through the guilt and mourning of this unexpected loss. It wasn't like her mother was sick years before this. It wasn't like she was old. I am currently at the almost a year point since I experienced an unexpected loss, and even now I'm still grieving and learning to cope. There's still a lot left to learn. There are so many questions that you'll never get answers to. That is what Fern is going through, and no one is being very understanding of that. She's also got a lot of pressure behind the decisions she's making regarding the future of her mother's resort. So for this individual we don't even know, we've only seen glimpses of her through Will's eyes, and being as he isn't an individual that is willing to share very much, I would say we don't know her at all. But she just came barreling in. A lot of times women are compelled to be the problem solvers. It's just the way it's always been. But Will is a grown man. He is eventually going to deal with the consequences of his actions. You need to let him be the one that learns it was a mistake. You need to let him be the one to make it right. Will's sister just seems very entitled. She essentially told Fern, he's not going to apologize, so you need to. That's a red flag. Walk away. I don't care how in love you think you are with that man. He's not worth it. That man needed to grovel. I'm talking on his hands and knees, worshiping the ground she walked on. Grovel. It was that bad. Fern even said she had her own shit to deal with and she didn't need to deal with his as well. So act like it. At the end of the day, you've been wronged by a man. You're gonna let that slide? Oh, absolutely not. You would never catch me doing that. I went through all the stages of grief reading the ending of the story. I thought maybe I would sleep on it and wake up feeling differently. But I truly think it's a terrible take. There were more than enough opportunities for Will to share this part of his life with Fern, and yet he made the decision not to. I also think the mental health excuse was not okay. That's definitely something that needs to be built up throughout the entirety of the story. Otherwise it just paints this false narrative. It shines a bad light on mental health in my opinion. I do think both Will and Fern were showing signs of mental struggles, but it shouldn't be an afterthought. I think I'm gonna rate this between 4 and 4.5 stars. It was a very cozy read, but let me tell you, if you're going into it expecting it to be a mirror image of Every Summer After, don't. Perhaps it's just because Every Summer After is so sentimental to me. I rated it 5 stars. It could have just been the point in my life that I was reading it at. I won't say one is better than the other because I don't want to compare two very different books. I don't think it's fair to do that, especially after reading the acknowledgements. Carly clearly put her heart and soul into this. It's a lot of pressure to write a book like Every Summer After that is not only a debut novel but becomes that popular, to meet the expectations of not only readers but publishers. The characters were developed enough. Being the main characters, there was obviously a lot more depth for Fern and Will, but I expected to learn a lot more about Jamie's backstory, especially with Fern. I thought he was going to play a much bigger part in the story than he actually did. I'm not swayed either way. I just think he shouldn't have been introduced the way he was if he wasn't going to be involved in that many aspects of the story. Once again, the caliber of writing is very digestible. I read it in one sitting. Well, I would have read it in one sitting. I did fall asleep at the 90% mark. But in my defense, it was also like 2 o'clock in the morning. Give a girl a break. But it was one of those books that you don't feel like you're reading because you're that immersed in the world. I will say Carly definitely excels when it comes to creating that small town community. I do wish we saw more of the Roses. I think they could have been beneficial in building the story, especially the relationship between Fern and Will. I think they could have shared a lot more wisdom. It may seem stereotypical with the elders have experienced it all, but I think that could have been healthy for their dynamic. I will say the ending definitely took off at least half of a star rating for me. It could change between now and when I write my review. There was a lot of potential in this story. I was reading people's comments on the actual book over on Goodreads, and a lot of people were disappointed this wasn't Charlie's book. For those of you that haven't read Every Summer After, Charlie is one of the protagonist's brother. Maybe it's because I didn't consider the possibility of there being a book about Charlie. Every Summer After seemed like a standalone I truly think it would be best that way, especially considering the climax of that story. I don't think I would want to see Percy and Sam through Charlie's eyes. I'm gonna leave it as it is. I will say, if you are someone that doesn't like the cheating trope, much like myself, there is definitely emotional cheating in this story. All I'm gonna tell you is when we're introduced to Will and Fern, they're both in relationships. While nothing physical goes across that boundary, there's definitely some insinuations toward them both wanting something more. I will say it didn't affect me as much as I expected it to. I'm not sure what to think about that. Once again, Peter was such a lovely character. He was Fern's mom's best friend. I wish we saw more of him. Much like the Roses, I think he could have been beneficial in leading both Will and Fern in the right direction. I do think it's sentimental that he took such a liking to Will. One of my favorite aspects of Will is that he loves anything lemon flavored. So that's mentioned a lot throughout the story, and Peter would make him lemon desserts and send them over. It was just so pure and sweet. I truly did love that. I will say learning about Fern's rebellious teenage years was a little anticlimactic. I think because it was hinted at so much at the beginning of the book. When we learned about it, it was just in a paragraph. It wasn't this elaborate flashback chapter. Once again, that is just a stylistic choice. As a reader, I would have preferred it to be something more, but you could read it and it wouldn't matter to you. When Fern made a decision regarding the resort, she'd also learned about an opportunity elsewhere. It was one that coincided with the plans she and Will made when they first met. Both plans and people change. I think her past dream also coincides with her current desires, so I would have loved them to interconnect those two. I'm not sure if that makes any sense, but I'm gonna go write my review. I will link it down below along with all of my other socials. I post daily on my book talk. You can see what I'm reading over on Goodreads. If you would like to read with me, I've got a book club over on Fable. It's called Lessons in Love and you should totally join. My Bookstagram DMs are always open. I'd love to know if you've read this book or when you do read this book, your thoughts. I am telling you, I love nothing more than when people go on book rants with me. So it truly won't bother me if you send me multiple DMs. I promise you, I am a back-to-back texter. So I don't mind it at all. I understand. But I love you all, and as always, happy reading.